I've been making a new train for the end gauge. Stick around and I'll show you what I've been up to. Well, good afternoon everyone and welcome back to Piccadilly. You can see in front of you the 266s that are going to be pulling this secret train. I'm not going to reveal what it is just yet, but some of you have guessed and you know, others have not. So see if you can pick up on the few clues I'm going to give you, and then do you get it right towards the end of the video. Right, so next little clue then. So I'll just pick this piece of masking tape up, pop it over the top. Sorry, my fingers are a little bit in the way. Just to run around the edge. Oops, bring that round like that. You might be thinking, what am I doing? Well, all will be revealed in a second, because what I am doing is I'm masking off the sweep of the windscreen wipers, which would come around like that, and then that one the same there. So it'd sort of be a little bit like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is remove both of those, get them the same, and then stick them back on. I'll show you. Okay, right, onto the airbrushing now. This is my airbrush, which is an Iwata Neo TRN1, and I like this one particularly over the standard Neo, is because it's got a trigger, just like a spray gun that you would use for a car, and it's dual action as well, so that's good for me. And that's my compressor down there. Yes, there's a Dalek there keeping an eye on things, it's a cheap compressor which came with a cheap airbrush, but the airbrush sadly was rubbish. That is okay, it does what I want it to do, but if you're going to get a compressor, I would suggest one with another tank on the top. So it looks as if it's got two tanks, but the top one would be more of a storage tank, so that it would fill up and it wouldn't keep needing to be on all the time. But that one's perfectly fine for me. And you also get with that this little airbrush stand. It was attached to the compressor, but I like it right next to me, so I've just used a clamp and just attached it to the table. All right, let's crack on. So you can see I've got my airbrush set up here, and then I'm using this stuff as like a thinning material, because the paint from such pots is quite thick. So I'm just going to remove the top, if I can, of course. It's like a medical top. And I'm going to fill that up about half, okay? The reason for that is because I need quite a lot of what I'm going to do. And then apply paint. So I'm just going to apply it with the brush. So I'm literally just going to spoon it in, if such. I'm going to do two colours. I'm going to use this one and that one. So I'll put two applications on, give it a bit of a stir. Like so, one more. Oops. Try and catch such runs, because otherwise it's just going to muck up the airbrush. All right, I'll show you this bit very gently, but I'm pulling back on the trigger very slightly. And this is to help mix the paint. You can see that it's bubbling from the inside, and I've got my finger over the edge. Okay, it's a good way of just mixing it. But that's a good flow, I'm happy with that. Right, on to the locomotive then. Right, are we ready for this? I wonder if anybody's guessed what the trains are going to be yet. What are you doing, John? You're spraying over the windows. Yeah, I know. Good fun. Never done it before. And the back end, I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but what are you doing? All will be revealed, worry not. Actually, I'm looking at it, the thickness, the paint might be a bit thin. Just a slight dust over the top and leave it to dry. All right, so you can see, I might just move it back. I want to put more on than that. on this one, and then that one will end up similar to this as it is now. Okay, just thought I'd show you this one. I'm just spraying the side of the locomotive and again over the windows like I did before. This time, I'm going to take a cotton bud and just wipe down that part of the cab. Okay, because what you see sometimes is that they've tried to sort of clean up certain parts of the locomotive so that you can still see out the windows. Okay. So locomotive's done now, so I'm just going to remove these bits here, being very careful not to scratch the plastic with the scalpel blade. So it's just designed to lift up, and then I can just remove it with the tweezers to give that effect there. Yep, quite like that. Anyway, I've got to do the other one, but any ideas what this train is? Right, so the latest clue in what you think this train might be is this. So some Dapol spine wagons. Some people have guessed what the train might be. I wonder if you have. Find out in a bit. Well, have you got it? Well, it's got to be a railhead treatment train, hasn't it? What else would make the locos that filthy? Join me in a minute. Well, there's the first carnation. So you can see, I'm quite pleased with the way that's turned out, to be honest. Little bar underneath. Needs a bit of cleaning up, but, you know, not too bad. So let's crack on, make some more. Just been looking at some pictures of the real thing, and actually it's way out of proportion. The tank is far too big and too chunky and fat, to be honest. So back to the drawing board and start again. Right, there's the next version. I'll bring the old one in so you can see the difference, and you can see there's quite a difference. The tank is a lot smaller, narrower, and effectively longer, but although it's not, it's the same length. And that's based on the dividing up of the spine wagons into the 3 equal parts. So it's a case of just carrying on now, trying to, I've got to build a base for it, and we'll take it from there. Well, as you can see, quite a momentous moment. We've got the train in its current state, so that obviously these parts are not painted, they will be. And let's give it a run. Now, I thought I'd do this now because there's no point in carrying on with the build if it's not gonna run properly or stay on the track. Oops, a little hesitant from the 66 there. Going under the bridge. Good so far. Well, I'm glad you saw that, because to be honest with you, I carried on testing and it became an absolute nightmare. So what I found is that obviously you saw it derailing from here, but it was also derailing from this bogie when it was over there. And it was just before the double slip, so I can't blame that for that. But so I tried a number of different couplings. That's just a sample of the ones I had, but with different sizes, different shapes. And you can see from that odd one there, I even tried to make my own style of coupling, with have 2 rods with a hole in the end and have a piece of wire going like that. It was very fiddly. It didn't work. So yeah, that was the end of that. But what I was finding is they're just too light. The Dapol spine wagons are not staying on the track as they should, and so I've got to find a way of making the whole lot very much heavier. And as you can see, that's not that tall, and I'm not going to get a car weight, one of these 5 gram ones, into it. It's just too big. All right, so I'm going to have a think about that. And obviously I've also discovered these chassis are far too tall anyway. They need to be slimmed down by quite a lot, so I'll get on with that as well. Well, as I said in the last clip, one of the things that I'm finding is that the whole train is just far too light. So I'm experimenting with pausing the print and then putting in some lead shots and then letting the printer carry on. However, what I did find out is that the printer was knocking the ball bearings and actually it was causing more problems than it's worth. So I'm going to try a different way and make a well with a separate top. Right, so there you can see the well that I've created in there, and there's 5 grams of lead shot inside there. You might be wondering what all this around the bottom is. We call that a brim, and that's purely to help it to stick to the glass mat on the 3D printer, because sometimes it can just work a bit loose, so that's just to help it grip. All right, so anyway, I'm going to make the top now. I'm going to put a little bit of glue in there actually. So I'm just going to poke a little bit of PVA inside there. I'm putting it in neat and just give it a little stir, little screwdriver, and just poke it around inside there so the glue goes right to the very bottom, like that. Right, so you can see there's the latest incarnation. So a few changes. The chassis has been made a lot thinner. That's the old one, obviously. And I've also made some modifications to the filler tap at the top. Apparently it's not quite centered, it's slightly off to one side. So there's that. Well, here we are so far. As you can see now, all the equipment is now painted blue. I've stuck them to the pallet sections, if you like, and they're all ready to go now. So what I need to do next is to start applying the details. So there's some pipes coming down at either end. I think there's pipes joining these sections together, and possibly even a pipe going between those ones as well. I'm not totally sure. And this unit here needs to have the handrails put all the way around, which I'm going to 3D print. And then... Right, so I've got one of the water tank units just there, and I'm thinking about putting the cant rail around the outside. I've ordered some orange vinyl, and I will be cutting it into tiny strips, which will probably be just under 1 millimeter wide. And I've made this little gadget, which I then put on the top like that, and that is perfectly square and level. So all I can then do with the scalpel, with the back end of the blade, literally just run round like that, like so, spin it round, like that, and last little bit like that. Hopefully you can see that, and if I put the cant rail up to that, that should be absolutely perfect. For those of you who are interested, what I did was, because obviously I've made that in Tinkercad, I just took a horizontal bar, lowered it to the correct height against this by putting it through, and then, well, actually I made a copy of this first of all, then I put that top bar right the way through it, and then turned this into a hole so it would remove any gap in there, and then just joined the two together, put the legs on so they're exactly the right height, and you can see you've got this perfect chamfer inside, and that is a perfect fit for that, because that became a hole which cut out of that. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so next bit on that will be putting the cant rail on. I'll show you that as we do it. Right, so I'm going to apply the cant rail now. to that. And if you remember, I said I was using this device. So I've done 2. I've got 3 more to do. So I've gone round and, like I said in the last clip, scored all that. So my next job now is to cut off the slightest slither. Now I'm looking for around about, well, around about 0.8 of a mil. Now I am guessing it. But then if you just slither it off, just pick that off there. The slightest slither. Okay, and obviously this is sticky vinyl, so it's good to just stick straight on. So I'm just going to line it up with the line that I scratched into the surface. Oops, so I'll start that again. Get it in line and push it down. Oops, got a bit of a wobble, like that. Going around the corner, like that. Trying not to ride up the line. And then trying to get that over the previous line, like so. And then with the scalpel, I'm just going to cut through the middle, like that, and remove that bit, and remove that bit. And then just push those so they're in line, like that. And so actually that's gone a little bit out of alignment. So I'm just going to use the small ruler just to straighten that up a bit. Hopefully that should go quite easily. Just gently nudging it, that's all I'm doing, like that. Yep, that'll be fine. And this was going to be varnished anyway. Actually, that's not quite right, but yep, that's better. Right, so I've got 2 more of those to do, and I think we'll get it on the layout then. All right, there's the 66. As you can see there with the RHTT train. Just let you watch it going around for a short time. I've removed part of the scenery down the bottom here, just because, like I said before, I had a little bit of an issue with derailments, so it'll go back on. And I'll just stop it as it's coming up here now. There we go, and stop it there. Right, so there's the wagons as they are at the moment. Now, please remember, this is just the basic structure made at the moment, and there's an awful lot more work to do. So we've got obviously the railings to go around on here, and the steps to go on the side there, not to mention all the tiny little pipes that need to be added from the varying places on the wagon. And I think there's pipes that connect through all of the whole of train as well. Not to mention all the extra detail that needs to go on the spine wagon itself. Okay, then the transfers need to be added. I've got some of those from Railtech. I think I showed you those earlier on. And then a massive weathering to match the 66s. Okay, now if I start at this end of the 66s, hopefully you can make out that is all brown here. And Steve from Cheadle Ridge helped me with that, sent me a photo of a particular 66 which is absolutely covered. But he did make a point to mention that the end cabs on both ends would be kept relatively clean, because obviously the drivers need to be able to see where they're going. So what I've done on this end is to leave the windscreen wiper sweep clean, and also the side windows on both sides. You can't see the number very clearly on that one. 66215 that one is, but you can on that one, 66111. But again, the end of that is all brown, but this end is considerably cleaner. Okay, so trying to make them slightly different from each other, but I think when the whole train is finished, it will look pretty good, even though I say it myself. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. There's going to be 2 more appearing on your screen just here. And do take a look at those right to the very end, and hopefully you'll find them interesting and inspiring too. And I'll catch you again on Piccadilly very, very soon. Bye for now.